Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back, and thanks for joining us. You've tuned into another episode of the Old Terps podcast, brought to you by the good folks at New Amendment. Hell of a car you pulled up to in the game, Kev. I mean, I'll be honest with you. I'm gonna go to my local dealership and
we stealing jokes now. Okay,
we're doing this.
We stealing jokes.
We're doing this right off the rip.
That was our lead up to this thing. I mean, Reese Mona just took 90% of what Travis has said over the past week and just literally vomited it all over the podcast.
No shame.
For us. It was ridiculous.
No shame, no regard. He was just saying it with a straight face, like, y'all, let me get my ha-has. No, it's not how it works.
Hey, Trav, what car you got right now?
I live in New York City. I take
in
the
New York.
A-train.
What car you got?
Ha 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 ha. I'm gonna steal a joke now. You live on the farm. You're driving a John Deere.
No, that John Deere's sweet though. It just doesn't go quick enough. I'll tell you what though. It shows. It's exactly. I mean, if we want to talk about full circle, it takes us full circle to last week. When we were talking about the group chat. I feel uncomfortable texting Kevin these days because he's driving a Porsche. You kidding me? Let alone a group chat with Christian Wofford and all those guys. My own friend. This guy's pulling up in a new Porsche every single day. If somebody's taking photos as he's driving in, could you imagine if I hired somebody to take photos of me whipping into work with the GMC Terrain? You kidding me?
You'd have your dog sticking out the window.
Yeah, and he'd look cute as hell, wouldn't it?
We should do that. We should take. We should each give our a little intro. Like, I'm gonna be on my way to work, and I'm gonna have a video man record me, and I'm gonna drop an ad for the New York City A-Train, and tag Kevin.
Fire.
This would be a funny concept though. Is people talk about like regular people just hiring photographers to take pictures of them all day. Like, Trav, if you had a guy just taking pics, like you wake up, walk out of your apartment door, you're getting on the A-Train, walking over, you'd look fly, bro.
It'd be OD for the 10 people, and then Reese in the comments shitting on him somehow. Suit ass, baggy suit.
Yeah.
Bro, you still wear you do wear suit and tie every day. Reese looks like going to church.
I do.
What are you talking about? No, Reese is definitely wearing all his Maryland gear every day. He's on that
I do. No, to the gym. It's all Maryland. Yeah, all Maryland.
What you wearing right now?
Maryland,
what are you wearing right now?
David, that's a podcast,
on the Terp
dog.
podcast.
You got to
what
be
year?
That's a warm-up shirt.
This joint was senior year.
Yeah, that's fire.
That was the first year I actually took the warm-ups off.
Yeah,
that's ass. As soon as we left.
Is that a real hat, Trav? Is that a real hat?
No, this is the authentic Orlando 2017 Hotel Resort March Madness hat.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
You have one of these, Kevin. You have one of these.
Yeah, you got one of those in the crib somewhere. For sure. I'm looking at mine right about
now. No, that's Jacksonville. That's Jacksonville.
No,
Trav.
That's Orlando.
I think truck driver Kev lost that hat a long time ago.
That's Orlando though, Reese, for sure. 100%.
I swear I have that same hat.
That's definitely the year you got. That's definitely your second. I didn't go to that
because we didn't go sophomore year.
That was definitely
Trav
your junior year.
Huh. We'll go back to the receipts.
Yeah.
We can get receipts, man.
We got hats. We got rugs. We got towels. We got one win.
What else we
got?
One
win, not two.
It's a lot of. We got a lot of NCAA tournaments. A lot of NCAA tournaments.
Speaking NCAA tournament.
That was the thing. And
go ahead, Kev.
You tweeted that back in the day. You stole a mat, right? That was the thing. I think the Big Ten, they messaged
I'm literally sitting on top of the rug right now.
That was just self-snitched crazy. NCAA is on your ass. NCAA is watching this podcast.
Bro. No, this was already a story.
I had that thing hutched up against my arm. I'm walking out of there. I was so pissed that we lost. Nobody could tell me anything. And the woman sitting there, and she's like, no. I said, Nancy, back up right now. And don't come near me. Man. I'm walking to the bus. I'm getting on it. I loaded that thing up on the plane, and now it has traveled with me all over the world. Portland, Oregon, Chicago, now Indianapolis, Indiana.
Can't imagine what's made it onto that floor of that rug.
I don't think I want to know.
It's been in your dorm room.
I don't think I want to know.
It's been in your bedroom there. It's been your friend. We're talking about
yeah.
Been outside. I've been through a lot.
This guy's
nuts.
What are you saying?
This guy takes a week off the podcast and he comes back absolutely saying
what he's talking about.
Hey,
this guy's rusty, man.
You guys started the show throwing shots. I'm just returning fire.
Golly. Well, I'll tell you what. Speaking of the NCAA tournament rug, Terps are firing, man. Well, I think boys are a little bit fired up. They might be listening to the podcast because I've essentially said every single one of those guys sucks, and they're proving me dead wrong. I think since I said something about we're just not that good this year, what have we fired off? 5 of our last 6, winning at home, 4 of our last 5. I mean, hey, we look good this week, so let's just rip up a little bit of the X's and O's here. Maryland at home, both games. We played twice. Wisconsin, the first one. Beat the shit out of them. I mean, we gave them a little spank and then sent them on their way. It was like Tyler Wall walked in, we just gave him a red bottom. You know, one of these. And I hate
Line them up, see
Get your ass out of here.
I hate those guys. Hate them. So I'm glad we gave them a little bit of a lick.
Did the same with Nebraska.
Dude, you know what it is? We were talking about this before. Like Maryland being what top 5 defense in the Big Ten, and we're holding these guys. I mean, dude, scored in 55 points. Wisconsin doesn't score that many points to begin with, but I mean, their field goal percentage was 39%. Like, I mean, that's just fucking pitiful. You can't win doing that anywhere. And if we continue to do that, obviously the crowd had a huge factor on that as well. Playing in the Xfinity Center is tough. I'm not sure many teams will be able to beat us.
Yeah. And like we were talking about the tournament, I mean, those are 2 wins that you get back to back, and you totally flip from like, okay, I think we're a bubble team to we're going to be in the tournament. And any team looking, I don't want to play Maryland because if they make their threes, we're probably going to lose. If you're sitting there, if you're a 6 seed and you have to play Maryland first round, that's not a team you want to see.
Not at all.
I definitely don't want to.
I think it's easy for fans. Like you judge your season based off of like the games you play Purdue or the games that you're playing Michigan State. Like I know Michigan State isn't as great, but you know the teams that are at the top of the conference. But the point of every season, like you got to beat the teams you're quote unquote supposed to beat at home, and we've done that. Like we've done that for the past 2 weeks. We've beaten teams that you could say we're supposed to beat at home, and then you get to the end of the conference season and you look up and you got yourself in the mix. And it's hard to go on the road and beat Iowa. It's hard to go on the road to beat Purdue. It's hard to go on the road and beat anybody. But this team has done in the past couple weeks. They've beaten teams at home, and that's obviously the sign.
I think that's special because like that's part of like building a program, right? Is like home court advantage. Like it doesn't matter who's we have this year, this next year, whatever. Like you come to Xfinity Center, it's going to be a tough game. And I think like the whole season, like we've lost one home game this year. I think UCLA. Aside from that, I don't think we lost. And we've been beating teams handily at home. And I think like this is something we talked about before. Was like you remember that year, our freshman year, we said that we felt like we were better on the road for some reason because we were more comfortable or whatever it was, like less pressure. This team, it seems like the opposite. Like they get at the X and they look so confident and comfortable at home. Like the offense is flowing and everybody's getting touches. Like I don't know, it's great to see. Like you know, we've defined a home court advantage.
You know what else?
And it's exciting.
You know what else they did is what we talked about yesterday or last week. We beat Wisconsin by 18, scored 73 points. That's we average 73 points at home. What else do we average? 14 3-point attempts at home, which is 7 less than we do on the road. Again, we shot 6 for 14. Dude, that's a deeper. That goes much deeper than just the stat. That means that we're not sitting there, we're not trailing early. We're not trying to get it all back with one shot. We're doing a system now. And then once we get these easy buckets, it not only takes, them out of their rhythm, but now you're starting to be able to do our full court press, which takes them completely out of what they've been wanting to do this whole year, which is slow the game down, all that stuff.
Do you guys remember when this might have been I think it was our second year, because Turge wasn't, we got off to a good start our freshman year. This is back, Melo Trimble was a sophomore, right? This is my freshman year. Yeah. basically, Turge used to talk about like playing at home, like losing wasn't an option. He was just talking like, hey, we don't lose at home. We're Maryland. Like we're gonna go out in front of that crowd and we're gonna win this game. Like we don't lose at home. And I remember it was kind of like it was a weird thing for me to hear and to say because it was kind of like, why? Like what is doing at home? How is that different from playing on the road? And that year we were better on the road, and like you could kind of feel the disappointment. We lost at home to Iowa and Minnesota, and we got our ass kicked by Pittsburgh. Like there were teams that we shouldn't have been losing to at home. Ass kicked. But I remember him, like that was the introductory to like, all right, college basketball playing at home. Like we used to talk about scouts, like, no, we're not going to lose this game. We're playing at home. Like we got to go take care of the ones on the road.
Dude, I just watched a game today. I was at actually your little sister's game, Kevin, Rutgers and IU women's, and IU women, bro, they had 8,800 fans there, like packed arena. It was super loud, and I was thinking the whole time Rutgers made little runs here and there, like to get back into the game, and it only took, there was two different instances. It only took one bucket by IU and a stop, and that whole run is completely crushed, and it's actually a run for the home team at that point. So now, like, instead of you on a 6-0 run, now they're only on a 2-0 run, but now you got 8,800 fans cheering. If they hit another three or they score on the next possession, it's even louder, and then you start putting your head down, and it's just so tough to win on the road that whenever you play at home, you have to win those games, or you can't win the Big Ten. Yeah. And I think the Big Ten regular season championship much tougher to win than the tournament. I know both are, people want to win tournaments, but over the span of a year, if you can take care of business every single game in and out, you're just a good team. That's just the definition of a good team, not just a hot team, And
we're talking about home court advantages. I do think Xfinity Center, when Maryland is good, really good, and having a good year, the Xfinity Center is, I think, one of the loudest. Rocking. It's one of the bigger ones, and it's rocking. When students are back from and on campus, Xfinity Center is one of the best. I think, other than Xfinity Center, I would say Michigan State is one of the louder ones. I want to get y'all's thoughts on what you think is the next best one, because I remember we won this game, but when Cash and Winston hit the three, and Travis sitting right next to me, and we couldn't hear each other. He was trying to tell me something. I was like, bro, what are you saying? Couldn't hear, right next to each other, screaming at me.
Just like, I
was grabbing his warm up, but I was about to throw him on the court. I was like, listen to me, I'm gonna smack you. He couldn't hear me. Nah, I think IU to me is number one. I got Michigan State 2. I got Purdue 3. That's my personal.
Yes.
The thing about Maryland though is like Maryland is a big stadium. Like Maryland's bigger than all those stadiums, and they fill it up and they're loud. So you got 19,000 compared to you go to Purdue. Off the top of my head, Purdue's 13?
Yeah. I think it's 12.
Like I've
14, yeah.
Like there's your difference though, which why I feel like Maryland is a different beast. Like you walk into that gym and it's like, oh, like you're not like, it doesn't feel like a college gym, and all of a sudden you're like, damn, there's a lot of people here, and it's
well,
loud.
You know what else is major is you have to be a good team too. Like to make that environment tough. Michigan State's already a good team, so it makes it that much tougher. Like IU, it's super tough to play there. We never really played them when they're at a top 25 team. Besides my freshman year, nobody was there yet. So it was like, it was loud, but it wasn't anywhere near like what we felt before Purdue, going to Purdue when they're the number 2 team in the country. So like it hand in hand, big arenas typically you say are, right there with how good your team is.
Yeah.
Like Nebraska, they packed that thing, but Nebraska.
But that's what I was gonna say. Like if you look at the Big Ten, and first of all, the conference is crazy this year because Purdue's 10-1, Northwestern 6-3, and everybody else is like damn near 500. But if you look at these home records, and this is something like Drew and I have talked about it, like home teams do not lose in college basketball, especially not in the Big Ten. It's crazy. Home teams. 10-1, 10-3, 11-1, 10-2, 12-2, 9-2. Nebraska, who's not great, is 7-3 at home. Now, granted, some of these, home records are inflated. You play some, easy games early in the season. But, like, overall, like, guys, especially in the Big Ten, don't lose. Guys don't lose at home. They just don't.
Yeah. Dude, it's like routine. Like, it's not like the NBA where, like, Kevin, you're on the road right now. You're constantly on the road. But it's also, you're not going against a student section either every single night. Like not every possession. In college, you just feel every single possession has so much magnitude that it's so tough to like get a feel. And then to be honest, you're just not as good as a college player as like you are in the pros, where you can't just go on like 10-0 self runs, or get hot by yourself. Right. You don't make 15 threes in a row. You know what I'm saying? So it's just tougher in every aspect, in my opinion, on the road in the Big Ten.
And Kevin, one thing, since you experienced it, obviously us three not quite experienced the NBA life, but I know in college basketball, those student sections, they know your girlfriend, they know your mom, they know your sister, and they're attacking you. Is it like that in the NBA?
It's a completely, like you say, it's completely different energy. Like in college, the games feel like they mean so much more. Like the NBA, especially when you're on the road, like the NBA is a production, it's entertainment. Like people are there to get drunk and have a good time and see some players play, watch a superstar. And so it's different. Like you go to some big cities, there's certain cities in the NBA that obviously the home crowd is better than others. You go to some cities and it just kind of feels like half the arena's full and the energy is just weird. But like you said, in the Big Ten, you travel out to Nebraska and you're like, damn, like everybody's the student section, like you said, they know my mom, they know my sister, this place is packed out. Like, man, this team is tough to score on. Like for some reason, just the court feels smaller. It's loud in here. Like it's not quite the same in the NBA until you get to the playoffs where there's, the energy and the urgency of the game intensifies. But yeah, the regular season in the NBA compared to like a regular season in college, like they're not
and
comparable.
It's pressure too. Like in college, bro, if you lose, like I got a question asked to me on Instagram when we released the podcast last week. And they're like, what is a plane ride like, home, after you lose? Like it sucks. Like the locker room sucks. Practice is gonna suck. Like, so there's a pressure aspect to it. Now, me, I was chilling. Like I was big chilling. Travis, Reese, I think we were all chilling. But for the guys that played, like especially if you went out there and didn't play well, or like you're midway through the game and you're starting to think, shit, my Twitter,
DMs.
I probably lost 100 Instagram followers. No chicks in the DMs. This looks terrible right now. And I'm on ESPN. As an 18-year-old kid, like that magnifies it all. You know what I'm saying? So, I also think the pressure of self-expectation, team expectation, and then you just, you're getting managed in every direction. Yeah. Like your coach is pretty much your parent. Like, he'll give you a little bit of a spank if you play bad, and it just.
And that's
sucks.
like the thing during the regular season, like like basketball is your life, right? Like everything you do is around like the season and the team. Like when you win, life is just so much. Everything is better. Like we would lose a home game, and then we'd go back to the room, order pizza bolies. Everybody would be pouting. Video games on for hours. You got to get up and go to class the next day, and you got kids staring at you like, oh shit, like. This guy sucked.
They just got
in with sports betting.
Yeah,
it's like you lost me $500. Kev. Way to go, buddy. Thanks.
Yeah,
you owe me a dinner.
I was gonna say that was what Travis was going to do. That was like the worst part about losing. In college, you're playing on like Friday,
you can't go out
Saturday nights. Like you win that game. It's lit, bro. Cameron's lit. You lose, you can't.
That's why I used to have beef with y'all when y'all didn't handle business for me. And I'm like, I got this after the game. I got this lined up. We're going there. Lose the game, I can't go. I just can't. I can't go.
I hope we can recut from last week when Travis was trying to make fun of people for being the social chair. I think that just pretty much identified you as the lead social chair. Trav was the planner. We just went and handled business. Travis was the guy at the door saying, "Hey, can you let my 5 friends in?"
How could I be the planner when I was the last one to get ready?
Kevin would walk up and they'd say,
I'd be.
Oh yeah, baby.
I'd be in my room on the bed with a towel on an hour after we were supposed to leave. Chilling. I'm scrolling through social media. You know how I do. You know how I live life. I'm very relaxed, laid back. I be chilling. I got people banging down my door like, yo, we're leaving 30 minutes. So how can I be the social chair?
Travis talking like he wasn't cuffed all of college, talking like he was texting people. Travis texting his girlfriend like, "Hey, you want to meet this out?"
We got to send this guy back to the DL, man. We got to send this guy back to the DL, man.
Girlfriend's got
CL. He's a CL.
Y'all got to
keep certified lover boy.
Keep this guy have the podcast, man. That's crazy.
Keep the
I had a
girlfriend
for like
my goodness,
2 months, 3 months.
Yeah, I mean, we have Officer.
Oh, Reese, you don't want us telling that story, bro.
Hey, I don't think anyone on this podcast wants stories. Kevin,
We have Officer Huerter officially in
Truck
the
driver's
building.
bugging.
My God, he's an FBI agent investigating his own friends for fraud. This is
Relax,
ridiculous.
Gunna.
Hey,
Hey.
I'm just.
But one thing about the college experience to get people to know, Travis mentioned the college experience to be an athlete. One story, we're not going to say which coach said it, but Travis came to practice. One of his worst practices.
Damn,
Travis usually practice hard, practice great. One of his worst practices. No. Listen. And you're going to remember this. It was during finals week, during exam week. Travis took 2 exams that morning. Gets to practice. Mentally not there. Not his fault. He took 2 exams. Business exams, finance exams. The coach goes, I don't give a fuck about school. Travis, pick it up, son. Pick it up. And then that was the day. And that's the day you figure out that coaches care about wins. Teachers don't know what you're doing. So balancing school and basketball is not as easy as people think. So being a D1 athlete is busy. And that's the day we found out coaches truly do not care. As long as you're eligible and you get your degree, they're proud of you. But other than that, you better.
I wanted to cry that day, man. I'm like, everybody wants something from me, man. I can't make everybody happy. The teachers are on my ass. I got the coaches on my ass. I got Reese yelling at me to pass him the ball. I couldn't win that day.
All right. As we continue to sidetrack, let's also look at Nebraska. So we just beat the living breaks off of them. Talk about another little bit of a red cheek spanking. They came to Xfinity. They shot the ball terribly. Our defense again stepped up. We did what we needed to do. We shot more 3-pointers, but we are up so much it didn't matter as much. We didn't need to be as crisp. Plus, we made a lot of threes. And one thing I'll say about both games in the past couple weeks, Jameer Young is serious business. He's way better than I thought. He's a real dog. Like, I knew he was good, and he was at Charlotte, and I remember seeing him at Charlotte, and he was a good player. Dude, that dude's like real deal business.
Oh yeah. CL conference.
Yeah.
Think he's in that
I
conference?
think
if we continue to win, yeah.
I saw something to put him. I think it was like Bart Torvik or somebody, one of those like analytics guys, has him like first team projected. Now, obviously, there's politics and all that goes into those actual selections, but I mean, at worst, he's a second team guy. He's been impressive. He's again, I keep saying like he's all 3 levels. Like he gets whatever he wants, like mid range, little push shots, get into the rim. Finally, actually got a dunk to go down. 2 of them last week. Yeah,
I mean, Jameer Young, dude, Moore, I thought was a layup guy. I didn't know he had the full turn around the hand and throw it down. He's not cocking it back the way I used to, throw down dunks, but pretty impressive. I was a little bit surprised by that.
Your warm-up dunks were impressive. Let's put that on the record, by the way. This guy would limp around all week. He'd come into warm-ups like still kind of, stretching his back out. He'd throw the ball up to the roof, let it bounce up.
Throw it to the roof.
Just chase.
Dude, I had to track that thing.
And it'd be the perfect.
I was one of the best
You went up there and
I was one of the best self throw alley-oop guys of all time. Trav like running up to the right side of the rim and like throwing it off the backboard to himself softly and then like barely dunking it.
I used to get freaky.
Throwing my shoulder out.
I used to get freaky. I used to do a little 360 double East Bay behind the back. I never East Bay in my life, but I used to get freaky in warm-ups. If the student section was there, flash mob 90 minutes before tip off, I used to get freaky in warm-ups.
That's where I went.
So
instead of just hot tub, I'd go cold tub before the game to get my joints right before big games. Make sure.
You just lied. You just straight up lied to us.
I'd get stretched though. I would. Big games with big student sections. You better believe I was full tilt before the game. I'm talking full sweat in the locker room. I'm not eating pretzels in warm up lines that day. I'm going full throttle, alley oop after alley oop after.
It's crazy Because then we'd sit down for like 3 hours straight and do nothing after. There was no cool down. There was no nothing. It was like, all right, get comfy, pal.
Yeah. Oh, you guys are talking about who's sending whose Venmos for who's making the liquor run. That was what we were figuring out at timeout.
Not me though, not social
in
share.
Blowouts. Hang on, but that was in blowouts. What do we? So speaking of blowouts, what do we think of? It's like we obviously had a bunch of games where we would run up the score a little bit. We'd beat somebody by 30, and we'd come into practice the next day. Do you guys remember how we used to feel about blowouts? Like, I personally don't, because I didn't care. But everybody else, like Kev, how did you feel after a blowout? Like, were you more like, hey, we don't need to practice that hard today? Or was it more?
Well, it depends. No, I mean, there are some games that, the best practices are obviously when you had the low minute group. So there was like some of the starters got to take off the scrimmage game. We used to talk shit as you guys would play. Like, those are the best days, and those would only happen after blowouts. Then there was also some of those blowouts where it's like, you're supposed to beat this team by 20, and you beat them by 20, but for some reason your coach wasn't satisfied with how you beat them or how you did it, and then like practice is almost worse because he's like, oh, we should have done that. Like, we're gonna go do shell and we're gonna work on how many times we didn't help off the weak side. So it really kind of depends. But obviously the blowout, like, you need some of those blowouts over the course of the year, just like the mental grind, wear and tear of the season, that all of a sudden you're sitting there in the second half at the timeout at 8 minutes, and you're like, man, I might see Mr. Terrell in there throwing some pistols up, or one of these guys trying to figure out who's going to bring the ball up the court because they're 13 players pressure in full court. Now these guys want to bring it up.
There was nothing worse.
So those games are great, but then it was your coach had to chill out. Like, those are games like, coach, 1 by 20. Let's practice is good. We got 3-4 days till our next game. Like, hey,
Drew, you should tell the Rutgers story, Drew, at Rutgers.
Oh, bro, no, this was at home.
I was at home.
At home, but it was terrible. It was the worst 3-minute stretch of my entire career. So my freshman year, we're beating Rutgers by like 50, maybe more. So I'm in at the under 4 timeout. I did not ever sit in those chairs. Like, those under 4 timeouts, never once sat in them except for this game in particular. It was Rutgers. He's throwing us all in.
He's talking about they bring the chairs out for timeouts, like the 5 players in the game.
Media timeout
chairs.
under 4,
So
sitting in the little chair.
It's the holy.
It's a different feeling.
It's the holy grail, bro. It's the holy grail. It's where you strive to be. So anyway, I'm sitting in the chair, and I look to my left. Like, the white flag has been waved. We're getting in because Rutgers has already put in all their scrubs, and you go scrub for scrub. That's an even out. That's a they score, we score, or they don't score, we don't score. You know what I'm saying? I look to my left, all 5 starters checking back in the game. And I said, son of a bitch. I said, I even made a little mention to Turgeon. I was like, hey,
coach, look.
There's a guy that's coming in.
Get me out of this chair now.
5 for 5.
Get me out.
They just went 5 for 5. What was that point guard's name, Trev? Really good point guard.
Was it Corey Sanders? It was Corey Sanders. He was crazy, by the way.
Bro. And they go full court, diamond, full court trap. I mean, I'm talking like, I'm sitting at the free throw line, and I'm whispering to Sanders. I'm like, push me to the corner and deny me hard. I'm not gonna break hard. Don't let me catch it. It's like, just don't let me catch it. I don't want to catch it. That dude he opens up completely, is telling the passer, here, I'll let you throw it to him. They're pinching my stomach, screaming, he doesn't want it. Dude, they're literally pinching my stomach. I mean, I was in so much pain. And he's yelling, full throttle, he doesn't want it. And I said, no, I don't want it. I just told you to deny me as hard as you can. 3 straight turnovers. They bang like 5 straight threes. Sub. 1 minute left in the game. We're up 10, and I'm not sure we could have held on. So that's another thing. Never put the bench guys in too early. And if the white flag is waved, make sure it's actually waved. Don't look over there and think, oh, these guys can handle the starter. No, we can't. I didn't want that.
I also feel like on the opposite side, as the away team, respect the white flag.
Exactly.
Like, hey, let's look up. This thing's that, like, let's let these guys get some work in. That's what the fans
You know what it
came here to
is?
see.
Some of these
Raise the white
coaches
flag,
care about
respect
these
the white flag.
like net rankings and things like that. It takes like margin of victory into like account for, so they want the margin to be as big or little as possible because they care about. That's why there were times where like we didn't finish the game well and like we'd hear about it a little bit. Like, come on guys, you turned the ball or whatever, blah blah. And the game was obviously out of hand by that point. But like some of these coaches care.
Bro, my senior night at Minnesota, Turgeon was yelling to Patino. He was like, foul him, and we were up 9. And Turgeon's yelling to Patino, foul him so he can get to the line. And Patino was like, hell no. Like, we're fighting for our tournament life. Like, I need this. This is big for our net rankings. I respect the hell of it. I would have airballed both free throws. I was like, fuck, don't foul me. Do not touch me, Kalsher. Let me go by you, please. Just let me go by you. He was like, nah, coach would kill me, bro. From that day on, I haven't liked Gabe Kalsher since that point. Really nice guy, though.
Seems like a nice guy.
Really nice guy. So, okay, that was a long-winded answer of blowouts are good, but they have meaning to them as well. So, okay, we're taking now scouting report. We just beat 2 teams by 20. Lower teams in our league. I'm considering Wisconsin a lower team in our league now. And now we're playing the hottest team in the league besides ourselves, which is IU. I think they've won 5 or 6 in a row. Their fans are buzzing. Probably top 5 best player in the conference, Trace Jackson Davis, and they're coming to Xfinity Center. So, what type of mood do you think we're going to be in? Are we going to be complacent, or do you think we're going to be fired up, or do you think it depends on how big our crowd is and how they show out?
I think what is good for us at this point in the season is like it's a new game. Like we haven't played Indiana yet, so I think that alone that you should get up for a new conference matchup with a team you haven't seen before. And they're what? I mean, we're now 5-5 in the league. They're 6-4 in the league. So this is one of those. This is one of those matchups that shakes up the standings. Like this is one of those even tilt kind of games where like if you want to be in the top half, if you want to fight for a single bye in the Big Ten tournament, like you got to win a game like this at home. So I think they'll be ready to go. Is what I'm looking for here.
This team worries me again. I mean, obviously Trace Jackson Davis. We talked about in the past our foul trouble for our big boy Juju. If he gets in foul trouble, it's our depth behind him isn't great. IU's athletic. They're big. Trace he's relentless. He's all game. He's pressure at the rim. He's dunking. He's tough. You got to double team him. So they present a lot of problems. I think if Juju can stay in the game, stay out of foul trouble, I like us, especially at home.
I could probably get Trace's cell phone number if you want to text him. My God, this guy's talking crazy about it. He's big, athletic, best player I've seen. I mean, my God.
All right, but the guy is just about averaging.
He's been bugging.
No, he's wanted.
But it's Kevin's right though, because our problem is usually
my fault, fellas.
Usually stopping big men, and I think the good thing is Patrick Melian for us played well last game when Juju was out, which is nice to see because Juju loves fouling. That guy loves to foul. So if he's in foul trouble, hopefully Patrick can go and slow down Trace, but that's a lot taller task than stopping Nebraska.
Dude, one good thing though is like they just did it against Hunter Dickinson, who is very similar. He's left-handed. He likes going left. Hunter Dickinson has better finishing ability.
Well, athleticism?
No, not athleticism. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about when you're in the post. Like Hunter can go over both shoulders for the most part. Trace is a one-dimensional. He's a right shoulder, left-handed guy. He doesn't like using his right hand. So now we've worked on that with Dickinson where you come into trap. I think it can be somewhat similar. Now, Trace will put his elbow above the square. I mean, it's different. But for the most part, that's the same type of coverage.
I think Trace is just more physical. Like Trace just his pressure consistently all game. Like Hunter Dickinson wants to step out. He'll take some threes. I think he's bigger size. Like he doesn't draw fouls the way Trace is. He's looking for contact. He's looking to play through. He's obviously looking to continuously get back to his left hand. I just think he puts more pressure on your defense than Hunter might for the consistency of a whole game, which is like I said, the foul trouble there that worries me.
My concern too is Maryland. I know it's the home away shooting threes. I also think they shoot a lot of threes against really good shot blockers. I think when a team clogs the paint, we're just like, okay, I'm not going to finish on them, so let me just jack this three. And I think that's one thing that we'll do. And I think Trace is such a good shot blocker that I just think we're going to shoot threes. And if we do just settle for threes and not try to get to the rim or get him in foul trouble,
I think that's a great point, especially like if you watch the last two games. I think our wings, like Hakeem and Dante, you could tell they made like a concerted effort to get into the paint. They would do like the little perimeter to post, shoot the little push shots in the lane. Like they were attacking the basket rim. And like Wisconsin, Nebraska, like neither one of those teams has a real like shot blocker. There's nobody you go into the paint you're worried about. He is a little bit different because he's a presence inside. But I think like for us to continue winning games and to be like competitive, like those two guys, Hakeem and Dante, they got to keep being aggressive. Like I think that's been the biggest change I think in the past couple of weeks is like those guys have been aggressive and they've been really good.
Yeah.
Like Hakeem, I saw a stat. They said he's like the most I forget who it was.
Dude, his plus minus is
he's
incredible.
like the most efficient player in the Big Ten. He's literally like the most efficient player in the Big Ten.
Yeah, like plus 30.
It's crazy. You saw it. It's insane.
Yes.
But they both need to keep being aggressive. Like he needs to be aggressive. Tay needs to keep shooting the ball. He started pushing the ball and kind of throwing at the rim earlier this year. Like shoot it. He has a good touch. He can make those shots. I think that's been like the biggest change that has helped us play better the last 2 weeks.
Well, Kevin called it too a couple weeks ago when he was talking about Don Carey. He's like, man, if that guy shoots well, pretty much everything kind of flows with that because then that's somebody that you can't leave. I mean, he was 4 for 4 the other night. When he shoots well, I think Maryland is just so much better because Jameer then has so much more room to work with. So if those guys can continue to hit shots and Hakeem continues to like be aggressive and gets more aggressive, I don't know who could beat us with what we've got cooking up
at home. Yeah.
We're a different team. I mean, defensively, obviously, that's our strength. So we're a different team when Don's making shots, Hakeem pitches in. But Jamari brings it every night. That's why he's going to be an all-league type of player. It's every game you're looking at. This guy just putting up numbers. I think Dante and Juju have done their part, but we're a different team when Hakeem and Don when they bring it. Because defensively, I think defensively we've been consistently good all year.
Yeah, I agree. And another thing too is IU these past couple of years have not been that good of a shooting team. I saw some stat they're like 14th or 15th in the country shooting threes. I mean, like somebody's got to fact check that, but I'm pretty sure I saw that and it was in the country. It's if that's the case and you have a dominant big, that's really tough to guard. I mean, you either double, then it's just swing, bury something, and then it's just tough. It makes defending those type of guys tougher. Although it is on the road, which obviously plays favor into us. What do you guys think in terms of momentum and things like that? I know winning creates trainload of momentum. What do you think about the rest of the league in terms of respecting Maryland? And we had that massive loss to UCLA, and it kind of took us off the map. Even fans kind of stopped going for a little bit. If we get this win, do you think this is the complete 360 into, hey, this is a real tournament team and Sweet 16 is actually, extremely achievable?
Well, I do. And one thing I'll mention before is also when you talk about teams respecting each other, I think Maryland's that team that teams do respect, but I'm looking at Northwestern and I see whenever they're 6-3, it's one of those things you're like, okay, they probably played a trash Big Ten schedule.
Ain't nobody worried about Northwestern, bro.
I agree. That's what I'm saying. That's what people look at. But I think when you look at Maryland, if they're up at 6-3, you're like, okay, they're legit. But this year's team, I think it depends. I think Michigan State does not respect this Maryland team. I would see they're going to bully them. Teams like that. I could see IU thinking Maryland's not very good. But other than that, I think teams should, and I think they do respect this Maryland team.
In terms of the tournament, like it comes down to all about who you beat. Who's Maryland's best one of the year?
Miami was a good one. Miami on a neutral court was a good one.
Best one at home. Miami was. But this team, go back to it. We've beaten teams at home we probably are supposed to beat. Coming up, we got IU, we got Purdue again. We go to Michigan State. We got some big boys coming up. and it's all about who you beat. So this should be great to get this win at home. I think IU is a tournament team. Obviously, they're a preseason pick to win the Big Ten, so they got a lot of talent. But Maryland, we still got to keep stacking wins. But we've taken care of business obviously the last couple weeks.
I'm disagreeing on. That's the good thing about the good and the bad thing about the Big Ten schedule is you can stack quad 1 and quad 2 wins. There's not many conferences that every single night you play, if you win, guess what? That's a resume builder. Whereas if you're in the Atlantic 10 or you're in different conferences like that, even the ACC, there's not many that are as good as the Big Ten, which is helpful and hurtful, which you see in the rankings of the Big Ten. You can't expect teams to be ranked like they are in the Big 12. That's rare. A lot of teams are ranked, but in the Big Ten, everybody's just beating each other. And home court is so big in the Big Ten that to me it's impossible to win on.
Yeah.
Which I think that also helps. Like I think at the end of the year, if Purdue's still at the top of the league, someone else might separate themselves for the rest of this season. But if it comes down to it, and there's 3 through 8 are all still middle pack, and they're all similar records, I think that definitely helps Maryland. Because how many bids is the Big Ten going to get this year? Every year there is 7-8 team bid. So if every team is similar, you still got to give the league its respect. You get up to 8-ish teams, whereas if a couple teams start to separate, I think that hurts Maryland's chances. If Maryland continues to stay in the mix and we win at home and we take a couple on the road. But I think the more that there's parity in this league and teams are together in the middle of the pack, that's
I fully agree, and I think now is the time where you kind of got to ramp up and accelerate and start to separate yourself, because we were talking about earlier, it's 5 weeks left of the regular season, right? And you're at the point of the season where everybody knows everybody. They've scouted you, they've game planned, they know your plays, they know your guys, they know their scouting reports. So it's just gonna who's gonna play harder, who's gonna out tough people, and who's gonna make shots. That is how you win games late in the season, and now is the time to do it. You don't want to peak too early in the season. We were really good, and then we were kind of tailed off a little bit. Now we've seemed to have found our footing here. Now is when you want to kind of pick it up and start to get going on a little run here to close out the year on with some momentum.
And there's no secret too with the tournament coming up, and talking about momentum. Who's the one coach in the Big Ten that you do not want to see in February, March?
Izzo.
Tom Izzo. And what did he?
Mine was usually that until we whooped him my senior year twice.
Thanks, Reese. You're really helping my point here. So Tom Izzo, I think he had a crazy stat where if you stayed all 4 years with him, if you from freshman to senior year, you made it to a Final Four at one point in your career, and it was over a 20-year span. That's ridiculous. Could you imagine every couple of years you're going to a Final Four no matter what? Hey, I want to play for you, Izzo. And he can essentially say, hey, you'll get a ring and you'll go to a Final Four. Guess what? I want to go play for that guy. There's no secret that you don't want to play him in January, February, and March, because he builds that momentum. He goes into the tournament, on a crazy high. And he understands how to coach his teams like that. I know, he can't dictate everything, but come on. Everybody knows you do not want to play Izzo in February.
You know who else you don't want to play in February, March? Kevin Willard. You don't want to play that guy in February, March either. You don't.
Yeah, no, you don't.
See him coming, running at you in February, March, you run the other way, pal.
And I think that is, we need a coach that in 10 years, we look back, we say, one, he did what he needed to do. He came in, he completely reduced the program. 2, he got massive recruits from inside the Maryland DMV area. And 3, every 4 years, he's fighting for a national championship, or you can make it even less. But you want to look back and say, Willard was a dog. And I think he's on the right track for that, just off of how he's approaching the intensity of, this team, which we've all said is maybe not the most skilled team in the world, but dude, we're going to be a 5 or 6 seed if we keep going.
He is.
He's coaching his ass off. But here's the thing, though. If he does everything you just talked about, we won't be looking back on anything. Willard's going to be here.
Yeah, exactly.
So this is going to be a Willard
until he passes
program.
It off to Kevin Huerter in 30 years.
KH, I'd be the Dobo.
Lay the seed.
2050 Huerter announces U Maryland head coach Travis Valmon, lead recruiter, first assistant on the bench. Reese Mona, strength coach.
Reese will be my Dobo.
I'd just be the crazy guy. I'd be the crazy donor at practices that nobody can tame. Why is that guy on the floor? He's allowed to be. That's why. And I'd be that guy. I'd be in a suit.
Speaking of that, before Drew, we got to make this a thing now. Drew, what's one thing this week you hated? Or you know what? What's one thing you loved this week that happened, Andrew? Tell us about that.
One thing I absolutely hated is I could not stand the way Wisconsin plays basketball. Just does not make sense to me. How you don't adapt to playing like 21st century basketball. You know what I'm saying? You watch those games, they slow the pace down entirely. They're not very good on defense. They don't have a good big. They don't shoot the ball very well. If you don't shoot the ball very well, hey, speed up the pace a little bit. Maybe wreak a little bit of havoc. Too many fundamentals, too much BS. So, that's one thing that I can't stand. And it was tough for me to watch it.
It's a good one. I hate those guys.
Last thing I'll talk about.
Travis. Well, are we going to go? Travis, what did you like or hate about
One thing I liked about this week, sheesh. This week kind of sucked. I didn't like anything about it. 2-0 for the Terps. Black. I love the blackout theme.
There it is.
We had black T-shirts all around the stadium. The students were back. They packed the house out. Scott Van Pelt tweeting about it. I heard he wants to jump on the pod one day and do show the Old Terps some love. Word around the block. That's what I liked. That's one thing I really liked this week. All right, you have to go now.
Reeser?
No more needs to be said here. 2-0 Terps. You'd love to see it.
Everything good?
I'll take it outside of college basketball. There's been a lot of no calls in the NBA at the end of basketball games. They need to figure that part out. I'm not anybody's fan. There just needs to be some sort of acknowledgement at the end of basketball games. The NBA,
it was
things
bad
just aren't
last
going
night.
the way they're supposed to be.
Bad last night.
You can't tell me you would have gone full. What is that? Upward dog like LeBron did there for 5 minutes.
We've already
the Klay Thompson.
Come on.
And then
he hit me. He hit my elbow.
Half of these guys in the league could punch a ref in the face and not get a T. Kevin says, "Come on."
Speaking of that, did y'all see Pat Bev last night with the camera? That's the best technical foul I've ever seen in my life. It's the best I've ever seen in my life.
That was hilarious.
He literally...
I love that just simply
he had a camera. He literally brought a camera up to the referee and said, "Look at this." That's the best technical foul in the history of the league.
I agree. And that's when you know, too...
Wildly disrespectful, but it was absolutely
two things.
hilarious.
Who gave him the camera? That's an expensive camera. That's crazy.
Right.
Like, do you think he just went over there and said, "Give me that"? And then two,
100%.
As a ref, if somebody's bringing you photo evidence and is trying to show you, that guy had to be thinking, "Oh shit, that's gonna be on the 2-minute."
He definitely.
Well, they admitted it. They admitted it after the game. Like, it took all of 5 minutes for the NBA to acknowledge that they got the call wrong. So I mean, that was great to see. But like, hey, those refs are gonna fly to the next city, do a game in 2 nights, and nothing's gonna happen to them.
Well, I'll say this. Hopefully there's no missed calls this week. Terps have IU, then they're against Minnesota. Hunter Dickinson. Nobody at Maryland cares about you, man.
We don't.
Trust me. Trust and believe, not a single guy. We only talk about you because we like to make fun of you. That's it. It's the only reason I enjoy talking about you. Other than that, you don't have any real estate in anybody's head. Come join the pod sometime, man. This is another episode of the Old Terps podcast coming at you live. Kevin Huerter, Reese Mona, Travis Valmon, and your boy, Andrew Terrell. We appreciate it. Can't wait to see you guys next week. Smash that subscribe button, and go Terps.
Shout out to us.
Shout out to us. Have a great week.
Shout out to us, baby.
Beyond the Big Ten is a network of podcasts that aims to be your go-to resource for all things Big Ten. We cover the entire conference with shows hosted by ex-players and athletic alumni, aiming to be your go-to source of information and entertainment for your favorite team. Hosted by ex-Big Ten players, media, and insiders, our podcasts are focused on giving diehard fans and those alums an inside scoop about the teams and people that make the Big Ten Conference one of the most watched and most talked about conferences in sports. We're excited to talk Big Ten basketball with you wherever you may be. Subscribe now.